I don't know if last week we spoke about the union of what was the chet that he had to be Mishnusaim on another 2 years he had to be in jail. So the say it's because he tried too hard with the Samashkin that he's in there. Kidding me? He tried too hard by the Samashkin to convince him. So l'chayre, you got to do status. So what makes it that they got called too hard? What point he makes them too hard? So I wanted to claim the too hard was to tell him, I did you a favor, you get out of here, remember me, stuff like that. Okay, that's his status. But he started to try to get his sympathy. So I'm really an innocent guy. That I didn't do anything here. I don't deserve this, and stuff like that. What are you trying to get my into? That means like you think it's totally in me, and that's the thing. That's the problem. It's totally in Rabbeinu. I got to go through a certain what we call the shtadlus. It's the biggest nesoyim we have really. Is ishtadlus. Ishtadlus is we got to work for living, right? What the parnasa comes from Kodesh Baruch Hu, doesn't come from the thing. The Mishnah tells us that straight out, that a person has to choose a living. He says there's no parnasa that there's no rich people and poor people in. So what should you pick? Pick something that's Calvin, okay? So you don't have to work too hard, and it's pretty clean and get a nice reputation for it. And pray, because it's not totally on anything else, not totally on you. So why am I working? It's not totally on me, right? I made it that way because there has to be a derech hateva. If there isn't derech hateva, so then what's going to be is then there's no bechira. If everybody understands that you find things and things, if you actually could live like that without any hovanya, so then what's come out is that I'm forced to believe there's a God. And this is really the whole union of why the Rebbeinu made it that way. In other words, the Rebbeinu made bechira in the world. So he made the world run according to Mother Nature. Now we know this for a fact by Yichulu, and he's got a goyim, but the Yisroel pointed it out to me. It says, how does Vayichulu end? Vayivorach Elokim Yishem Hashvi Vayikadish Esai Ki Vayishavas B'Kol Malachte Asher Bara Elokim Lases. What's the word lases mean? So it means not only what I made, but what I intend to make is also in the Bria. In other words, all the Nisim he already put into the Sheishis Yimei Bereshis into the Bria. I saw the Dvarim that he made the Ben Hashmoshes because the world changed. So you had to add certain things into the Bria that went into the Bria. Now, whatever it means, Kriyas Yamsuf and stuff like that, is obviously it's not the way Cecil B. DeMille imagined it. If you guys don't remember, he was a guy he wrote a book, not a book, a movie. And he's saying his son Dalton did. That's not the way it worked, because the Pasuk says that's not the way it worked. What did he do when Moshe picked Vayit Yodei Alayom? He picked it up to split it, right? So the should have split, right? That's not what it says. It says happened. Yeah. Vayet Moshe Yodei Alayom, Vayelech Hashem es Hayon, Beruach Kodim Asa Kol Halayla. What he only activated the wind that night. Vayosem es hayom lecharova. After blowing the whole night, the ground became solid. So that means that it didn't come right away. It wasn't a thing there. So the goyin, which learns it froze, makes a lot of sense. That's what happened. So basically, he was using the normal things of that's built into the world, but he has full control over it to make it use it whenever he wants to. So therefore, it's 20 degrees, it's 50 degrees outside, so it shouldn't be freezing anything. All of a sudden, it's 50 below. And then saying, how do they get to 50 below instead of 50? That's the Beisham did it. I don't know how he can do it, but he can do it. Now, normally it doesn't happen, but this time he did, but he did it this time. And whatever it is this. So the Beisham has that complete control that he has. And that's what we have to believe. That's the biggest nisayon we have. So therefore, you don't have to do them more than what's considered normal. And this goes.
That's normal. Like when I talk to someone, a business deal, you try to make a personal connection. Isn't
Yeah, that's the problem.
So why is that sympathy is also?
But why do I have to make? But I don't have to get the sympathy. When you put in, if you put in a bribe, right? So then obviously that's not the norm. And I've liked to make everybody bribes everybody. What are you talking about? You don't bribe. So I mean, but the truth is, you're not supposed to be bribing. It's supposed to be the same thing goes in Parnosa or tiny. Let's say a person, I remember where I brought the rice from now. That let's say a person, he chose a profession. Let's say he was what do you call it? A salesman. So a salesman will understand. So you can check on computer, whatever it is, how does the salesman make a panosa? So they tell you that to make a good panosa, you have to have 20, what do you call, cold calls, and 10 repeats, and that makes a panosa. Okay. All right, and it's worked for 10 years. Then one week, I'm making all my cold calls. I make my no repeats and no cold calls. So what should I do? Make more cold calls? I can do that, but then what I'm doing is I'm upping my necessity to work. So I can say to Benishlam, I don't know, Benishlam, for whatever reason, today you don't want to give me my panosa, I'm going to Beis Medrash. That's all. Tomorrow I'll be back tomorrow. That's all. And then that's it. There's not going to have to work anymore today. Because I did the status. I'm not doing more status. It's not going to help me. And this is really, now I remember where I learned it out from the mon. So you could do Amarba V'Amamit. The guy said Amarba Lohedif, the Marba didn't have more, and the Mamit didn't have less. Like, what kind of crazy thing is that? I mean, I'm picking that, and you're picking, and you don't have more. And they didn't pick in a bushel box. You know, they should have told me, you fill up this bushel, you have enough. That's the Omer. If you have 10 kids, so there's 10 Omer in this bushel. Right? Nobody thought of that. Oh, are you crazy? Nobody thought about it. Every Jew would have thought about something like that. Elavos is not going to help. You got to go blindly. And you got to pick as much as you think you need. And that's the thing there. And one guy's going to think I need so much. And one guy think, but each one is picking a Omer. It's not shot that each one is picking. I'm going to do, since God's going to put it in anyway, I'm going to just put in a piece and then I go home. That doesn't work that way. I got to think I'm putting in a Naima. But one guy thinks I worked enough already. Another guy thinks it's not enough yet, not enough. You keep throwing in more, it's still going to be a Naima because that's all you picked. So you really make what you decide makes a Naima. You decide that. It's not totally on anybody else. So the same thing, whatever it is, I think I need to make a living. I can do minimum wage, so fine. Maybe I'll make it. And stuff like that. If I think I need to have $1 million, I must go become a banker. I have no other answer, right? Because that's what I have to do. Okay. Anyway, so that's why he did it 2 years. And finally, Paro has a stream. Now, Rashi says a funny thing. He doesn't say it's not funny. I mean, I don't think it's on that the word toya maher are expressions of beauty. Two types of beauty. Toya, Rashi says, is parts of panim, the shape of the face, and maher is zivklester, or whatever it is. I think like the charm or something like that. So by humans, it says ifas toya, ifas maher. Now, that's only said by two people, by Rivke and by Yosef. On the other hand, by Adonio, it's only calls him Yifetoya Ma'oid. And by Rivke, it always says Yifas Mare Ma'oid. And by Sora, it says Yifas Mare. I knew you were Yifas Mare. Why you picked Mare instead of Toya? I'd have no idea. That you can make Torah on. But over by Rachel it says both. Yes. What did I say? Oh, that was a mistake. No, by Saul and Rivka it says only Mara. Yeah, but by Rivka it says Mara Ma'oid, and by Rachel it says Ifas Toya Ifas Mara. But cows, would they also have such a thing? I don't think so, right? And according here, we have right here in the Torah, it tells us the Ferish cows have it. I don't know what it means. Because in the dream that he has, that Pari has, it says the lotion that they have Paris Yifais Mare, Brias. They uses the word Mare on them. Okay? And when he tells it over to Yosef, he uses the lotion Chalim Chavati Yosef. Vaydab para Yosef v'chalim hini oimer asfas yovi hini min ayor l'sheva polish b'chir yisposa v'yefais toya. So what he's talking about, so I don't know. I have no idea. How could be? I mean, I can see maybe cow looks healthy, and no, okay.
It's not like the koala that people.
Huh?
Cow's not like the koala.
Right, I'm saying. I know what he's talking about. Okay. But anyway, that's what it says. Okay. The shaila is, why did he go with the Parshas first, and then with the Shibolim? I mean, they're both obviously necessary to tell you about food, but I think the more direct point to us would have been if Parah would have dreamt about the food first, and then you won't even get meat, like stuff like that. Okay, so like, why does he go? You won't get meat, and then you won't get food. So I think could be that according to the Assam, that they held them Mitzrayim didn't eat meat at all. They've been Ezra and something like that. So therefore, he's really talking about punishing the gods. In other words, your gods will die first, and then you're going to go to the people. But both because you have no food for anyone. That was better when we learned that. Okay, and he gives him the thing. Now, obviously, you see the Yad Hashem again. You're talking about something that's going to take 7 years to find out if it's true, right? Or 14 years if you want to be technical, right? So, Paro is going to jump right away, give the guy, make him prime minister, and the thing doesn't make any sense. I mean, let's see what happens. I'll put you in the back of the government. You're in charge of food, recreation, or whatever, reportation, whatever it is, and see what you do with it. What do you think? So obviously, it seems to me at Hashem that certain things take place that are not logical. I mean, obviously, and then you see more to Yad Hashem that way. Okay. And he makes him the chief, whatever it is. And then he has, and during the time, the Benishim did other Nisim, that only the stuff he did was successful. Otherwise, the stuff that people did, they tried to follow him, that was unsuccessful. So therefore, he had full control of all the food in Mitzrayim. So therefore, that was a big thing because if people were able to have for themselves, there would be not the buying and selling. Even though from Canaan they would have had it anyway. You just the people in Mitzrayim would have had maybe a way out. But Afal Cain, the Benishim didn't do that. Okay. And he has 2 children before the hunger. So Rashi says down that from here, you see you can't have children while there's a hunger here. In other words, there's a point of suffering with the people. We have the same din in Eretz Yisrael, and the same someone's actually living in Eretz Yisrael, and he leaves because of the fear, stuff like that. He hasn't the right to leave. He can't leave. So, I mean, I have to put myself in sakana. Yeah, you have to put yourself in sakana because you can't weaken the people. Okay, so I'm saying, but you find, on the other hand, what's his name? Levi had a daughter. Yocheved is born by Naptzorim when they went down to Mitzrayim. That's in the middle of hungry years. And she's born when they went down to Mitzrayim after 2 years. So that means he lived with his wife within that year. So it was 100 years he was living with her. So how come Levi did it? So I want to tell you that there's difference between Levi and Yosef is this. Levi is a religious guy. So people seeing that he's living with his wife and he's having a kid, so they think, oh, he's a nut, or he's a very religious, he believes in God, God take care of him, whatever it is there, he's going to have another mouth to feed and there's no food. Right? Okay, so he's a nut, whatever it is there. But on Yosef, they would have said, Yosef's got all the food in the world. For himself, he's not starving. So therefore, he's going to take it away from us or something like that. That's a time that you can't do that. He can't have food. He can't have children. Another guy can have it, because he can't. Now, I don't know what cholarotzes means, but obviously Canaan for sure. So, okay. And it seems that Yaakov Yetzim was not affected, whatever Pshat is, either because the Benishim made Nisim with him. So whatever it is, he always had enough food. It's like you can imagine, what do you mean you always have food? Right? You ever have a jar of coffee, of instant coffee, and just somehow it never gets empty? Okay, so that's what it means. Okay, so whatever it is, it's still there. So everybody, so he told his kids, go down because we don't want to look different than anybody else. And if everybody's going to Mitzrayim, we got to go to Mitzrayim too. That's the way it is there. He shouldn't come in. And unfortunately, we saw this in history too. The Yidden were attacked after the Black Death. But they didn't die. Why didn't they die? Because they washed themselves. So therefore they didn't die. Right? They were filthy, whatever they are there, and the Yid was not. But the mice is, should we become filthy because of them? But not. But obviously, the fact that we're different is going to be, we're going to be different in the thing. And they're going to blame us for that because of that. So therefore, there's an A, as much as possible, not to be different. Hoping we die for it. And that we don't have to do. Okay. Okay. So now it came down. He sends his sons down. He sends 10 sons down. Yomini keeps home, and Yosef is not there, so he sent them down. And supposedly they all came in different ways. Either they thought they were going to look for Yosef or whatever it is, or they didn't want to look like there's such a big gang coming together, stuff like that, because everybody was a strong guy. Okay. Were they really nikil that they were strong? That I don't know. We'll talk about that later. Yeah. So it says two psukim. This is, I went a little different than Rashi. Rashi uses the Lashon, it says, Vaya Yosef Socha Vaya Kirem. And he recognized them. So Rashi says he recognized them because when he left, they had a beard. They didn't recognize him because he didn't have a beard yet. Okay? That's the fact of recognition. And Nedosh Hagoda, they treated him, they didn't treat him like a brother, he treated them like a brother. I don't know, I don't see him treating them like a brother, if you ask me. Right? So what's pshat? And so one of the both pshatim are in the Chumash. This is, let's read the psukim. Vayayesh v'secho vayakirem. He recognized them. Vayisnakir aleim v'darim v'koshes. He now thought about it. He wants to get revenge. He's going to get him now. Vayim aleim ayin bosim. Okay. And then it says another pasuk. Pasuk Hey. Vayaki Yosef v'secho v'leikuhu. And he didn't recognize them. What's the repetition of he recognized them? Maybe they want to say they didn't recognize him. Okay, that I understand. But what's the point of repeating that he didn't? So I say the first one is that he saw them and he recognized them because they had a beard, he knew what they looked like. I assume, but the truth is not all of them had a beard. Probably the way I figure out that Zvulun is probably only 3 months older than Yosef. So I don't think that he would have had a beard either if Yosef didn't have one at that time. So for the 3 months, well, you never know. Some guys grow beards faster. I can't ask, but whatever it is. That's he says. But he wanted to do beard to them, right? But he saw he can't do beard to them. He didn't say, it just doesn't feel right. I don't want to do this. I don't hate them to that degree. I'm imagining what I'm going to do. I'm putting them in jail. I'm going to get a thing there, and somehow get no pleasure out of it. So another thing there. So there the pasuk says over again, then he says, he recognized them as brothers because that he had that feeling, but they were able to do it to harm him. So therefore, they didn't recognize him as brothers. That's what it means. Didn't recognize him. And therefore, because of that, he remembered the dreams. What did the dreams have to do with this? In other words, why should he all of a sudden imagine the dreams? But he couldn't imagine it. But since he saw it's not personal. He really should be so angry. He should be wanting to hurt them, and he can't. So therefore, he saw that he's now to understand the dreams, what it was, all of a sudden hit him. What didn't he understand with the dreams? He didn't understand the dreams. It didn't make any sense. That what we saw, they were all in the field, and they were all binding bundles, right? And what happened in the end? The 11 bundles bowed to his bundle, right? And that's the thing there, right? So they thought it means kingdom, being a king. Why, if that was what he meant, why would he have to have them binding bundles and the bundles bowing to his bundle? They should have bowed to him. They're all there in the dream. So obviously, they're not bowing to him. So if they're not bowing to him, so what is the point of the dream? So he should have thought about food, this, that, whatever he should have done about it. But that's what his problem was. He didn't understand the dream because obviously he did a good job interpreting other people's dreams. He could have figured out what his dream was, but he couldn't because it didn't make any sense, the dream. So that was he. But now that he sees that it didn't affect him, that he's not angry at them, so now he can understand that the whole point of the dreams is to save them. That's the whole thing. That's what he's going to tell them in the end, in the next parsha. Okay.
If Din and Yosef was switched, then his Zvulun into Yosef would be like 9 months difference, not just.
What do you mean? A Medina.
Yeah, then Zvulun should be more than 3 months old. It should be like 9 or 10 months
No,
old.
you mean because she's has to be at least 10 months old younger than Zvulun. And 10 in Zvulun. Okay, so she was 1 month later, maybe. 1 month, so, but at least 3 4 months maximum. Then you don't need more than that. One was 7 months, maybe 9 months.
I was saying Zvulun and Dina, a full sibling, would be like more like 9 months, 8 months.
Why would it have to be that much? Don't forget.
Zvulun and Dina.
The problem is you got to get them all into 7 years. You got to get 11 kids, 12 kids if you count Dina, in 7 years. Because what he called, as soon as Yosef is born, they're ready to leave. He didn't marry them until 7 years later, and until at the end of 14 years. So the 7 years, he had 11 kids that were born. And so the 12 kids that were born. Okay. Okay. So now what did Joseph want?
They were married late 30. You married them, we had to get 11. That's 13 more years.
Sorry,
But don't let me pick on stuff.
I didn't hear what he
He didn't
said.
leave love till 13 years, but the kids were all born in the first 7 of them, right?
Huh?
He's married 13 years before he leaves love.
He's married, sir, he's married 14 years, right?
13 before he leaves love.
Okay, yeah, right.
The kids were born in the first 7.
Right.
At the end of 7 years.
The end of 7 years, first started at 7 years. Okay.
Was exactly like Ya'akov did when Ya'akov was 30. So why didn't anybody tell the brothers this guy looks exactly like his father?
Yosef looked like his father, so they didn't know what their father looked like.
He looked like you.
Yosef looked like Yaakov.
When he was 30, exactly the same. Why didn't anybody tell him?
Whatever, okay. I know.
Yaakov never wore Paro's crown.
Yaakov only met at 100.
Yeah.
When the soul with a black beard.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm saying,
No,
but
when
maybe.
Ya'akov was 30, when Joseph was 30.
I don't know. I don't know. But it is true, you should know. I mean, sometimes you don't recognize it. I was living already here. There was nothing to this house. I was still by the cable holders. A cousin of mine sends me a picture from Tells, right? And I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, why is Mordechai wearing a bow tie? You know, no one wears bow ties now. I mean, but in the Tells, we was still style bow tie. I didn't realize it was a picture of me, as well as a picture of my grandson. And he looked like that's how much he looked like me, right? So you can't even tell. So I'm just saying, so you never know. Okay. Yeah, so what was Yosef's plan here? So we can learn 2 things, really. One is maybe he just wanted to get them to see Binyamin, or he wanted them to leave Binyamin. Well, the plan was how he's going to get Binyamin down there and to keep him. So the whole plan was already in his mind. I'm going to blame them, and I'm going to make them into thieves, and then I'm going to keep Binyamin. I think it's a lot of thought behind it, and somehow it doesn't seem to work out the whole way. I think what's bothered him was that he wanted to be Michael them, and because he saw he can't harm them. He doesn't feel angry at them in that sense, that he wants to hurt them. So he wants to be Michael. Let's make up. But what will make it that I'm being able to Michael them? They should only feel they did me an avlet. They should ask me Mechila, and then I can left. So he's going to try and make that into a point. And we'll see as we go along that there's 3 times, he really cried 4 times. But for all practical point, the first one, the one was that he cried with Binyamin. That's no kashi. That's just the fact that he saw Binyamin again. He cried, but 3 times he cried somehow, and we'll say that meant I want to time it that is because he hoped that they realized finally they did something wrong, but they don't realize what, and that was the tragedy of it. Okay. Okay. Anyway, all of a sudden he picks up this story with because when he's undertaking, if his plan was that in the end they can bring Yaakov down and all that was his plan. So he's going to have to make up with his brothers. He's going to have to recognize these guys who he thinks are a bunch of gangsters or spies. He's going to have to recognize them as his brothers. Like, that's pretty crazy. I mean, you didn't recognize your brothers. You didn't recognize them. Saying, okay, maybe he was too young. He didn't recognize them. But somehow, should have gotten into some idea of what you're talking about and the questions you asked and stuff. Okay, so I don't know. So he had to have a big plan that was a purpose in it. Okay. So first he told me he'd lock them all up and send one down, which may have been more effective in the sense, maybe as far as Ya'akov was concerned. I lost all my kids were all in jail, they're all in the thing there. So I have to send them down, get them all back. I don't know. But anyway, but in the end, he says, so they left one, and he picked, obviously, Shimon, because he wants to break up the Shimon and Levi combine. And I guess he took the bigger one because I think the ideas probably started with Shimon, with all the ideas. So he figured, you have the older and the younger, who gives who's telling who what to do. Okay. So when he did this is the first time he's going to cry. When he did this, so what happened? That we saw his saw and we didn't have pity on him. Now, they did this b'teras din. They held he was chayv misa. That was what they killed him for, right? So they hold he's chayv misa. So what do you mean you have pity on someone's chayv misa? Bestin will not have pity on a person. That's the sentence. Sentence is that. What he calls mashma, that with brothers, maybe there is such a thing. That is a chiv on, or even if he not moichel's a guy, I mean, meaning I can't save you. Well, that doesn't mean I feel bad against you. Maybe I first have to make him feel better or whatever it is before you kill him. I have no idea what both of them. Over there, Reuven says, I told you I'll tell you by Yellet. We don't find he said something like that. He always told him, don't kill him. He said, I'll tell you by Yellet. Mashma, that this was a conversation that existed before they even had, when they always were talking about what do we do about Yosef, what do we do about Yosef, they all said, we got to get rid of him. And he kept saying, don't do it. He's not Chayiv Misa. He's an innocent guy. He's not this thing done. Now, did Yosef know this? Now, I don't think so originally, but definitely over here he knew it. He's standing there, he's overhearing the conversation. So he knows that Reuven was definitely not involved. So where do you have the Asor Yemalchus, compared to the thing there? It is definitely only 9 brothers that were guilty. So Reuven was not guilty at all. In reality, so if you want to say in his imagination before this, that was who put him in the hole? Reuven did. So therefore, you figure Reuven was ahead of the whole group, and he put me in the hole, and that's what counted, because he didn't know what's going on in the background and behind him. Okay, I can hear he made a mistake, but after this, he can't have made a mistake. He knows for sure that Reuven was not out to hurt him. And then thing over there. So I want to tell you that the Asor Gemalchus is 9 and Yosef, because he's the one that really caused it. No, it's no. Did he really cause it? He caused it because either being insensitive or not really thinking how it could. I can't answer that exactly what it is, but he's definitely part of the same achlekes. And Reuven and Beniman are out because they didn't want it in achlekes. So anyway, so Reuven said to them this. And there it says, the Hemlo Yudu in there. So what did he do? And he started to cry. Now, as they realized something was wrong. Now, we're getting an einish. And we're getting an einish because of Yosef somehow. Whatever it is, not because, or they thought they didn't do anything else wrong in their lives except the mice with Yosef. So what was wrong with Yosef? Yosef, we held we also were right the first time. So we did something wrong. What was what we did wrong? So they think we did wrong because we didn't have Rachmanis on me, right? So they're so close to finding out that they did something wrong and they still didn't get it. And that's what made me cry. In other words, I have to keep going on with this game. And he took for Shimon and and then he put the money in and then whatever it is. So this is something that, you got to be maybe a tzaddik in that sense to understand, or maybe we all have to be choishish that we don't deserve things. In other words, things that are for nothing, we don't deserve. The Mishnah does that a lot of times. In other words, if good things happen to somebody, he doesn't have, let's say for 30 days, he doesn't have any problems. So he's supposed to think that the Rebbeinu Shalom's out to get him. No, he paid him off in this world. He got everything he did because he lived 30 days without any problems. And all of a sudden, now the rest of it, you're finished. Okay, I guess if you think about it, we all have problems somewhere along 30 days. Every 30 days, you have a problem. It's not a major problem, obviously, but it's a problem. It's a thing that it disturbed my feeling of security or whatever it is there. So, okay. Yeah.
He was trying to teach them that by putting the money in.
He
was trying to teach. Well, Yosef was trying to teach them that by putting the money in their.
Yes, he wanted to return the money. Could be, but what they said were very frightened because they found money in their pocket. Now, why do we have money? We don't deserve it. Now, we can't figure out why we don't. We'll think it's Mom Shabbos. God's paying us back for Shabbos. Okay, he had to pay somewhere. Did you have a cheshbon of where it is? So we never think about all the extra monies we get during the year. But there is. If there isn't, then God's not paying us back for Shabbos. So somehow we're just not realizing it every time to make that cheshbon. But obviously the cheshbon can be made. It can't be made, then there's no, how are you going to prove it? So I'm saying, so the cheshbon can be made. I can make it, may not be necessarily what we consider a return. Could be maybe even, let's say, where there's a 50% off sale, let's say. So that's 50% I'm getting back. I need the stuff. I'm going to buy it anyway. So I'm not saving 50%, is I got 50% of the money back. Okay, so fine. Maybe that's money. But if I can make it that, but there's definitely a lot of free monies we get during the year. Gifts, or whatever it is that we can't logically have a reason why we got it, except that it's understandable. It's a tip, it's a this, it's a that, what he called. I didn't expect it, but I can give a reason for it. That would be Shabbos paying back. So we did this thing. Here, they didn't have it. Could they have expected it? They didn't seem to have expected it. Even though he's, when they come down to the guy taking him into Menashe, he tells him, I got the money, this God's giving you maton. That made him really afraid. Like, if God's giving us the maton, it made all of a sudden money popping into our thing, something's wrong. I mean, who minted this money anyway? You have to understand. Okay. Now they come back and they got to get Shimon out. And so they have this pressure. So as soon as they come back, and this is the point that Reuven was a pachas kamayim. In other words, on the other hand, you can hold it as a leader, but he always had an opinion. He always opened his mouth right away. And that's here right too. In other words, let us take him down. You kill my two sons. Okay. Now Rashi says a funny thing, buddy. Your sons, not my sons. I mean, there's a typish. No, I don't think it means that. Or this is maybe what Rashi means. That if you're telling me you can kill my two sons, can you kill your own two sons? Are you the owner of your two sons that you can kill them? You have no right to kill them. So what do you mean you're going to kill them? Right? Oh, I mean, it's if I was going to kill them. In other words, I feel so bad about it. As if my kids' lives would be dependent on it. That's how well I'll take care of them, right? But my kids' lives are not dependent on it. And therefore, it's not the same thing. That's the point where it's not a guarantee. That's a simple thing. It's not a guarantee. A guarantee is if treated as this, you can't treat it as that. It's not that. So therefore, you can't treat it that way. So he doesn't listen. Yehuda, I think, is basically a Talmud Reuven. Makes sense that, meaning he did two things. It's the second thing he acted as a Talmud of Reuven. The first one was when he said, "My God says, that what the point? Let's sell him," is because he heard Reuven say that we don't kill him. He's the Rebbe. He's the oldest brother. The oldest brother was probably teaching the younger brother, so he's his Rebbe. So that much he knew. He didn't know that he wanted to save him, that he didn't hear from him. So therefore, let's sell him for Zenevet. So that way, at least I got him away from killing him. And over here, he saw I've got to do something to guarantee Reuven that he take back. Reuven's not smart enough to pick the right thing. Obviously, he didn't know what to pick either, Yehuda. So he's waiting his time. And that's maybe the mile of a melech. A melech doesn't have to be the smartest person. I mean, in reality, the president doesn't have to be the smartest person. You're not voting for him as the smartest person. Who does he make the smartest people? The secretaries are the smartest people, or at least the president think are the smartest people that agree with him anyway. That and stuff there. Those are the smartest people because they're the ones who are actually going to run the country. But they're all under his hashpaya. He is the one that knows how to pick the right guy and stuff like that. That's the point of the mouth. And the thing over there, he's the best administrator we're gonna get. So he bided his time, and he waited until Yaakov said, "We need food to go down again." Now Yaakov is the one that started the conversation. We can't go down unless you give us the gift. That's the first thing. So he knew, and Yaakov knows probably that he meant it or whatever it is there. So that ain't going to happen. But he puts in his guarantee afterwards. And he says, so send the kid with us, and I'll guarantee to put him in front of you, and we'll all live, and no one's going to die, not us, not our kids, not you. I guarantee him. And you can seek him for me in Loyav I'll owe you forever. That's called a klala on Sechalein. I'm not going to go this is a point we know that a guy is Mikala himself, or not Mikala himself, Mikala somebody, or Mikala himself. It doesn't make a difference. So even if you mekayim the thing that is like you made it on a tanai, it's still the klala still comes on. You still get the klala. So therefore, never curse anybody even on tanai, because that's a funny thing. So if they knew this, I'm assuming they did. being the others. They must have known that is the thing. So why do you take this as a guarantee? You know, the guy's going to hell anyway. And what's the guarantee? So I'm saying what Pshat is that Yaakov said, I mean, I'm sure he felt bad that Yehuda did this, but the idea is, if Yehuda is giving up his Olam Haba, it ain't going to be for nothing. It's not impossible. He's not bringing the kid back because he's not going to give it up for nothing. So therefore, if he gives it back, he's make sure the kid's going to come back. So that's a guarantee. Okay, so therefore he gave him the stuff and he gave him double money and make a part would be a gift. And the Reuven will send you, and this is the point that Misnabib and Yedei mention Misnabib, that you find a lot of times a person says something, they have no idea what they're saying. This is usually by people who will die, usually within the year, who are perfectly healthy, will say certain funny things that, but you don't recognize it until after the guy's dead. It's like something happened, and all of a sudden, because of that, you realize, oh, that's what the neshama knew. That's going back. Like you didn't know that the human being doesn't know, but the neshama knows. So here also you say that he knew that it says is acher. The acher is unnecessary. That means that's Yosef. Okay. He came back down. Sees him. Okay. All right, they come to eat there at night, and he tells them how to set up the food. He wants them to set it up into 3 groups. Hu levadei, hein levadam, v'mitzvah eichim yitvan levadam. But the mitzvah, he tells them a reason why. Why? V'mitzvah eichim is to tell them to kisayavas mitzrayim, to live with them, to eat with Jews. Because they eat meat, he don't eat meat, they don't eat meat. They considered, what you'd call them, animals or whatever Russian, they were barbarians that eat meat or whatever they did. Russian, so it's a bizoyan to them. So he teaches you how to live in Gullus. He himself ate meat, right? So that means he's showing the Mitzrayim that I'm different than you. So they don't associate with him. They don't not the word, don't socialize with him. That's what I mean, because we're different types of people. And therefore, we do business. We can accept you as the king as long as we can put you down. In other words, I think the English learned this quite well when they took over China. Like, how could a small group of people rule China? You know, that's such a big country. All of us. They let the Chinese call them round eyes, and then like a Bizoyan, they're barbarians. They're not. What do you call it? So they felt superior. They felt superior. They're not necessarily interested in destroying you because then they feel they're utilizing you. In other words, you're a public servant. They work for me. You're the king. Your job is to get you. Jews are smart. Go there for a doctor. Go there for a lawyer. You know, but we don't like them. But those guys, we need them. If they work for us, that's okay. So therefore, that they know their mindset. Same thing over here. You take me. He's teaching us how to live in Golos. You want to live in Golos? Let the goyim feel superior to you, and that's the thing. And then they'll let you rise as high as you do. They think so. That's what he told him. Okay. And obviously, why did he keep himself different from them? Because he didn't want them to see that they should think he's with the Mitzrayim. So therefore, he had to have the third party. But he had to separate from them. Okay. And then he sets them up family-wise with the Becher. He banged on the Becher, whatever it is there. And And again, he gives a Binyamin 5 times. I mean, how they got the 5 times, the 5 menashe, isn't it? The question is, what was the point of it? But again, the fact they're showing such favoritism to Binyamin, we're not jealous. A bunch of kooks. I mean, I think he's a little kid. He's 30 years old. He's not a little kid. I don't know, whatever. Okay. Then he tells them that they should. He tells Alabayas, I want you to put my becher into the bag of the little guy, and they chase after him. Okay. So they what do you call it? They can go chase him or whatever it is then. And immediately makes the accusation, that you guys stole it. And they say to him, a kal v'chema. Rashi says, I think it says it. This is one of the 10 kal v'chemas in the Torah. You see? Yeah, echad me'asor kal v'chemas amurim b'Torah. V'kulam menuyim b'Bereishis Rabbah. So the kash is, what are you trying to tell me with the kal v'chema? Kal v'chema means if I did this, then that for sure I can do that, right? So that means it must be emes. That's what you're saying. So how come they didn't listen, the Mitzrayim? I mean, if you're telling me it's a kal v'chema, so the Mitzrayim should have understood, okay, they're all innocent. So why did they do that? He said, you're right. It's exactly what they thought. They were all innocent. But 2 people were not. Who don't have the kal v'chema? Shimon and Binyamin. So they have the older one and the younger one. That's all it says. So now if you look at the Torah literally, it says, so they being the kal v'chema. So then when they started the search, let's talk about that in a second. They started with the big one. And kilo. Doesn't say it was more than those 2. So it was those 2 that they and was the other 10 they were innocent. Okay. Now they told him, what did he say? I want to take that guy from Nevid. And they say to him, no, that kid, the one you find it by, kill. And the rest of us are all guilty. We can all be avoid. And he answers them, you're telling me that's the way the din is. All right? Rashi says like that. This is also min adin. Echad emes kedivrechem kenu shekulchem chayovim bedavar asora shenimtzois geneva biyad echad mehem all of you guilty. What kind of story is that? I mean, there's no country in the world that condemns everybody because one guy and a friend of a bunch of group guys, one guy's a crook, but everybody's now guilty because of that. He says, what you said is right, because the fact that you consider this guy a member of your group means that you're not mevuzah from him. The thing there, would you do this with Machal Shabbos? Would you do this with someone of a Noyef? Would you do it with this? Those guys you won't. But with a gun, if you do go to Tish, so that means you don't consider Geneva a bad thing. So therefore you're guilty. Now with the fact that he hangs around with you, they hang out with you, his pshat is that they feel that you don't condemn him. And therefore, since you don't condemn him, then obviously you're Chaim for causing it. Because the fact that if you would condemn it, then they wouldn't be like that. That's the point. So that's Kedivrechem Kenu. Yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah, so they all took around it. So all of a sudden they ripped their clothes And Yehuda pops up. Now, obviously, Yehuda pops up because, like he's going to explain next week, is that Pshat is, I guaranteed him. So therefore, I'm very involved over here. But what does he say to him? It's seemingly that we don't all come back because we'll all be avodim, all of us together, right? So that means no one's coming home. How do you get the food? How are you going to get the extra food that they're supposed to do? Send down there to buy. I don't know. But somehow that wasn't the problem. Yonathan was not dying from hunger. That's not the issue. He's going to be able to live. And to think there, what about our kids who take care of them? Now, I said, what was my guarantee? That when I come back, I'm putting in front of you, right? If I'm not coming back, so there's no kasha. So none of us come back. So somehow, whatever it is, the baby shall work it out. Now, how did he know? He gives him a speech. You heard well, how'd you do this? What can we say? We can't justify God's father or Father. So that means that he really believes Binyamin did not steal it. Otherwise, he'd say, what do you mean he found our Father? Binyamin's a big gangster, a kid, he doesn't know any better or whatever it is there. Because they knew Binyamin was not a chayter. Binyamin is one of the few people that didn't do any averas ever. So Binyamin is such a person, that means they knew Binyamin. So you can't tell me Binyamin stole. That you tell me. Maybe you'll tell me something about Shabbos. Maybe if I wouldn't believe that either. But stealing, it's impossible. So therefore, if he's the one that has it, then there's something wrong. And it has nothing to do with the truth. There's something wrong. Now, who put it there? They didn't want chayshit. I don't know if maybe they were chayshitim. I don't know, because I was willing to go to war. What are you getting to war for? Maybe I'm willing to go to war. Simply, you guys want to attack us, so we'll defend ourselves. Right? Like, we're innocent. We know we're innocent. It doesn't look innocent. I don't know what to do. I can't answer the question. Okay, so that was the point. And that was the way. And that ends the Parshas. That was the thing there. Okay. Anyway, this is as I say, the why it comes out always in Chanuka, even though Mikeitz, I really don't know. Mikeitz, in fact, I had one of my grandchildren was bar mitzvah on a Mikeitz that was not Shabbos Chanuka. that was so rare that the thing that Mikeitz is always Shabbos Chanuka. I'm saying, what does it have to do with Chanuka? That's
yes, but then you'll be able to drive.
There must be something.
Still will be able to.
You have a good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos, Freilich and Chanuka.
Enjoy your guests. I'm sure everybody loves guests.
Good Shabbos. No, I missed it anyway. Okay.